Hello, this is James Lowrie with the Canadian League of Composers, and I'm here with William Kuo. Uh, Now, I'm going to have you pronounce the name of the piece we'll be talking about today because I believe it's in German,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's Get auf wie eine Blume.
which translates in English into.
To kind of to spring up like a to blossom up like a flower kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Now, this piece was chosen for the ISCM World New Music Days. We had our Canadian section where we chose a handful of pieces, and this is the one that was chosen by the international jury for the Shanghai Nanning World Performance. Unfortunately, that was canceled, as I'm sure you're very aware, but we're still very proud that the piece was chosen and excited about it. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about this musical work? How did it come about?
Yeah, so it was essentially a study and counterpoint in rhythm and timbre, a counterpoint in rhythm and timbre. And at the time, I was very interested in exploring different ways of shaping temporality or form. And so I basically created a rhythmic skeleton of varying durations for sounding and soundless moments. So in a way, rather than shaping sound, I was kind of imagining myself to be shaping silence. So I asked myself questions like, how can intended moments of absence give privilege to one sound or a group of sounds to another? Or what does the appearance or disappearance of a sound mean in a particular context? So each instrument had its own trajectory that was self-sufficient, but also informed by a greater whole. But also informed a greater whole. And so I had a general picture of the sound world that I wanted. So I wanted something fragile, quiet, and stable, in between sounds. I was looking for a kind of environment. I want to immerse listeners in an environment or inside a kind of shape shifting organism. So I took time to personally experiment with each instrument. I recorded fragments and I arranged them in a DAW to hear how different timbres sound when they're stacked on top of each other vertically. Um, and I was also very much interested in the visual perception of meter, of different changing meters versus or of tempo too, tempo indications versus the mental, psychological interpretation of it while playing or listening to it. So I had um, lots of meters, for example, like 316 or 1132, like odd meters like that, which uh, I thought I wanted to see how performers would react to, but also how I reacted to these meters while composing, and how that changed my psychological process.
I noticed there was some repetition signs, which is a little
Yeah,
quirky in this style of music.
right.
Um, and when you're listening to it, you're not necessarily thinking, here is a moment of sudden rhythmic stability or repetition. But I
Right.
could tell that you're creating a complex grid in which these musical um, activities are taking place.
Yeah, I think complex grid is the perfect word for it. As I said, I imagined it to be a skeleton, and actually this grid became the basis for other pieces
Mm.
during the same time period.
So why don't you tell us a bit about the performers in this recording?
Yeah, so this was performed by Ensemble Paris Mirabeau, and they're just an amazing group of performers. When I rehearsed with them, I nitpicked so much about little details, and they were just so patient with me and so willing to explore. Um, I remember, you know, there was these techniques. I remember I went to Vivian's house, to like to check out the cellist
Who's the
Viviana,
cellist?
yeah, and to check out some techniques, and she was just so open to trying things out. I'm not a cellist myself, so I showed her some things I did on the instrument, and she very patiently obliged and to meet my requests.
Yeah, it's funny that the whole making finding your own way around the instrument is
Yeah,
is an interesting way to compose, because I come from a guitarist background, so I always assume whenever I pick up other instruments that everybody's got these crazy hammer-on fingers, which they don't necessarily. But I do think it's interesting how sometimes one's hmm, inexperience with an instrument can open up new pathways of sound making, because you haven't gotten the whole years of
Exactly.
lessons about how everything's supposed to be done.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess that's probably about our 5 minutes. Any last words you want to mention?
No, I think that's about it. Just very thankful for you, James, for making time to do this. And it's too bad that the ISCM for Shanghai didn't work out this year, and I hope that I'll get to hear this piece performed again sometime in the future.
Yeah, me too. As I was saying, I'm in Toronto, so I hope I get to hear your music come through the big city
Yeah,
sometime.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully, I've never been there for a performance yet, so yeah, hopefully one day.
We'll have to make it happen.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
James. Bye.
And that's it for today. Thanks to William Kuo for chatting with us today and making that excerpt available for sharing. As always, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, and if you ever have any questions, we're only an email away, info@composition.org. Bye!